Okay, well, we're all committed to this. I was just at the Wolf Pack is also an organization that tries to get money out of politics. I was just at a fundraiser for Wolf Pack, and the irony on them was lost that in order to get money out of politics, we had to raise a shitload of money. It's kind of like we're going to cure cancer, but first we got to sell all these cigarettes. All right. So you see the debate that's happening in the country right now, and you can tell who has a lobbyist and who doesn't, right? They say, well, we have to balance the budget, but we have to do it in a balanced approach. And a balanced approach right now in America means adding 2% imperceptible tax to the top earners in this country that will affect their life zero. And then also to balance that, we have to make it harder for your grandmother to see a doctor. That's considered balance in America. And you say, well, because we are in such a big hole. How are we going to get out of this hole unless we push some old people in it? Yes, we've got to cut Social Security. And I'm like, well, I thought we're the richest country in the world where all our money go, right? Because they keep telling us, John Boehner says we're broke. Barack Obama says we have to tighten our belt. Chris Christie tells us we have to tighten our belts, which is kind of ironic. And so I'm like, wait a minute, we're the richest country in the world where all our money goes. So I turn on the news, and the corporate news guy told me the teachers took all our money. It's not the wars, not the banks, not the corporations outsourcing jobs. It's those goddamn money-grubbing teachers. I knew it, yeah. And their evil thug unions. I say we give them guns. And then we negotiate their contract. Yes, it's the teachers that are taking all our money, but they're so sneaky, they still drive junky cars just to throw us off. There goes another teacher taking a sack of money out to their terse cell. These teachers, I hate them. And I'm like, why are we laying off? Now we're laying off teachers. We're laying off teachers because we have to save money, right? Because that's what's going to get us out of this depression. Fucking dumber kids. That's our problem right now. We're too smart in America. How are we going to convince China to open a factory here if our kids are smart enough to know they're being exploited like slaves? That joke's funny and sad. Have you gotten the new iPad mini? Not me. All right. But then, and so why are we firing teachers? We have to save money. I'm like, well, can't we fire something else? Can't we fire this war in Afghanistan that absolutely nobody wants anymore? Can we? No, we can't, because the war in Afghanistan has a lobbyist, right, from Boeing and from Halliburton. But Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, they don't have a lobbyist, right? So that's the difference, right? We can't lay off that war. We've got to have the war, right? You got to have the war, right? And you can't have wars and teachers. What are you, assholes? You got to choose what you want. And we said we wanted the wars, which we can't even afford the war either, right? We have to borrow the money from the Chinese, and they give it to us because they're nice people. That's kind of ironic. We're a bunch of capitalists borrowing money from a bunch of communists so we can bring democracy to a bunch of Muslims who don't even want it. Happy 4th of July. So who is running the country? Well, the banks are running the country, right now, pretty much. Lloyd Blankfein, CEO of Goldman Sachs, said this about Social Security recently. We're going to have to lower people's expectations about the entitlements and what people think they're going to get because they're not going to get it. Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. That's what Lloyd Blankfein. Wow, well, it turns out having all the money in the world doesn't build character. I don't blame them for being annoyed. Those deadbeats who spent their whole lives just scraping by want to retire on money that belongs to hardworking billionaires. Let me just say this about Wall Street, and we're still giving Wall Street money, by the way. We have to fire teachers. You got to take a cut in your Social Security and Medicare. But we've got endless money for the banks, quantitative easing, that's called. That's when they ease all the taxpayer money into the bank's accounts at $40 billion a month. But we're still broke. I don't get it. Let me just say this, and this might sound indelicate, but if I could screw my wife half as good as Wall Street has screwed our economy, I wouldn't have to go through her emails. So money has not only completely corrupted the Republican Party, but pretty much the Democratic Party too, right? So what is the effect of having money in politics? Well, when we elect a liberal president, we're left with DNC strategists who ask Democrats to rally around a health care plan that originated at the Heritage Foundation, was initiated by Mitt Romney, and designed to subsidize the insurance industry and shackling the Americans to the health care profiteers forever. Woohoo! So we got to get the money out because it corrupts everybody, even the news media, right? So the guys who bought government then went ahead and bought the news media, because so now they don't have, nobody's going to get investigated, right? So, right, and it leads to stuff like this, like Tom Brokaw was talking about Social Security. Tom Brokaw is a great newsman, and you can tell he's a great newsman because he wears a pocket kerchief. How else are you going to get the real stuff on the street unless you have a kerchief to wipe all the bullshit off you? And he has a deep understanding of this country after years of flying over it in his private jet. He said, we're all going to be expected to make sacrifices. That's what he said about Social Security. We're all going to have to make sacrifices. And on the bright side, none of my rich friends will feel a goddamn thing. He didn't say that last part. Maria Bartiromo said this recently on Meet the Press, or as I like to call it, Press the Meat. When it comes to spending cuts, 2 points are clear. Number one, Americans realize that the three biggest drivers of our debt are Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And I say, yes, Maria, especially those Americans who don't know a goddamn thing about Social Security. Because Social Security doesn't add 1 penny to the deficit, never has, never will. Okay, but Social Security doesn't have a lobbyist. But the people in charge of the military-industrial complex in Wall Street, they have Maria Bartiromo, the minor bird of Wall Street, to repeat their talking points for them. And, you know, hey, what if she actually knew what she was talking about, what would she be doing on MSNBC in the first place? All right, here we go. I meant to say CNBC, but it's all the same thing. It's all corporate news, ladies and gentlemen. MSNBC is going to give you as much truth about the war until it starts cutting into their profits. And then they're going to fire Phil Donahue again, even though he doesn't work there. All right. So let me just close by saying this. It will be, you know, I have to go in and I'm going to try and get a loan. I don't even know if they give loans anymore. But has anybody tried to get it? I'd like to get a loan. Oh, sure, just put 100% down. That's not how it works. No, that's how it works now. Why? Because we screwed up everything and now you have to pay. It's a rigged economy. Can you imagine the next time a banker asks you for your credit score? What's my credit score? Let's play a game called Guess Which One of Us is Bankrupt. It's like Chris Christie asking me my workout schedule. I am not too mature for a Chris Christie joke. But I will end by this and talking to you about the people who get manipulated by the money. That's not only in politics, but owns our media too. I have a brother. My brother's a teabagger and not the fun gay kind. And I love my brother. You don't get to pick your family. You have to love them. It builds character. My brother's a good guy, but he worries about funny things. He makes about $50,000 a year, and he worries about the estate tax. I'll explain. One day I'm at my brother's house out of nowhere. He goes, hey, Jimmy, we got to get rid of that estate tax. I'm like, sure, Danny, what the hell are you talking about? He says, that's the tax if you die and you have millions of dollars. The government just takes half of it. They just take it. I was like, that's horrible. Let me know when that becomes a problem. And I'll organize a rally. But until then, maybe you should turn off your AM radio and get invited to your own life, okay? So I'm pretty sure estates don't have 2 cars that don't work on the front lawn. Maybe you should start worrying about the t-shirt tax at Walmart, okay? Okay. And it's just weird to see in a down economy. Well, what we're left with now are politicians very rarely really relate to normal people, and they have to pretend like they do. Like, if it wasn't for a couple of Southern senators talking about how rape was cool, we might have had Mitt Romney as our president. And Mitt Romney, and by the way, no, that's the... That rape thing, it is true. I went to the same medical school as Murdoch and Aiken behind the 7-Eleven on Hollywood Boulevard. And women can't get pregnant. That goes not just for women, but all species of animals. I remember when I was a kid, Bob Barker used to end every show by saying, make sure your pets don't get impregnated, have them spayed, neutered, or raped.